today we're going to do a little recapping of last week. Oh, and by the way, I think that we should also get some credit for our Super Bowl picks. Like I texted you and Ashton, we kind of were right because you were right on the NFC pick. You had Philadelphia. And sadly, I was right on my original AFC pick, which was Kansas City. Of course, I picked them to be playing the Bucks. But anyway, we can combine it and we can take credit
Well, it's like the old
for being right.
Seinfeld episode where George and Jerry figured out that if they combined themselves, they made a full man.
Yeah.
And actually,
There we go.
full disclosure,
There we go.
I did go back on that pick last week because I thought Washington was on such a hot streak. So
I know.
look,
And I went back and I picked Buffalo last week just because I didn't want Kansas City to win.
well, if I could pick with any regularity, I'd be living in Vegas right now, living the high life. Right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to recap. We're going to recap last week, and then we're going to talk a little bit, since there's not a lot to talk about from fundamentals this week, but about fundamentally one of the most important things about the Super Bowl is the food.
Yes, getting ready for the food.
Right. So that will be our fundamental segment this week. So why don't you share your thoughts on last week's game?
Yes. The Eagles Commanders game, I was surprised at. It kind of played out how I thought, where I said a lot of things lately haven't been becoming easy for the Eagles. The defense has been playing very physical, lights out defense, but offensively things have been hard. And so for the first good part of that first half, it was a close game. It wasn't too far. The Commanders had to feel like they had a chance, a break here, break there, and certainly that they could see themselves doing that, playing close, because that's a strategy. Keep it close into the fourth quarter, and then something breaks our way. And that's how it looked like it was going to play out. And then just the tidal wave came, and the Eagles just poured it on, and it just wasn't even competitive by the end of it. So
no, it was kind of sad, but what an experience truly for Jayden Daniels to have. I mean,
deep playoff.
Of anyone, he's going to learn from that. It's only going to make him stronger.
Absolutely, and hopefully it stings a little bit, because when you go home, you don't get to move on. And so, yeah, absolutely, this is a great learning experience for him.
Yeah. Did you think? I really thought it was the defense that just was so outstanding for Philadelphia. But of course, how to ignore Saquon Barkley, that first run.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He is just, you really got to think, like, how can he not be a serious candidate for MVP? He's the only one that's moving on.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is not moving on. Lamar Jackson is not moving on, but Saquon Barkley is going to the big
I know,
game.
but you can't consider it's a regular season award, so you're not supposed to consider that when you make your vote. Those who have votes, right? So, but no, and it's so funny. Last year, in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been talking about how the running back position has been devalued, and you can just get 2 or 3 of any old guys off the trash heap of players and combine them into one good back, and now all of a sudden 2 backs in particular, Saquon and Derrick Henry have, historical seasons. So,
well, let's not forget about little Bucky Irving here in Tampa. He really changed things for us here.
Right.
So yeah, there's it is funny, it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with any running back who's up for contract extensions this year. And I don't know if there's anyone in the draft, because we know that it's not a strong quarterback draft. So, maybe there are running backs in the draft that are going to be looked at.
Sure. I think it's the NFL, like anything else, is cyclical, and it always comes back around. Just when you want to devalue this position, guess what? It's the most important position on the field, right? And then, of course, defensive coordinator are going to spend all this offseason trying, how do we account for that? And so things move an inch by inch, and then you cut to 5 years later. Okay, maybe they're devalued again in some other position that's highlighted, right? So it all comes back around. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So what about the second game? Boy,
The second game was entertaining. Glad it was
it
a little bit
was.
closer. Kept me in it for much longer, right till the end. And it's just, look, everyone's got a little bit of Chiefs fatigue. However, you have to give them their flowers because they execute when it's time to execute. That's the thing. It's not just it's when you do it, right? When you have the last 4 minutes and you've got the lead, or excuse me, and it's tied and you go down and you get points and then your defense steps up in those critical situations, short yardage, goal line, and get big stops, and they execute on a much higher level than almost anyone else in the NFL right now. And on the Buffalo side of things, they again, if they play that team in a vacuum, Buffalo and the Chiefs played in the vacuum. One's going to win 6 times, one's going to play 4. You play another 10, the other team will win 6, the other team will win 4. But playoff time, when it really matters, and in those critical moments, within playoff time, Chiefs execute better than anyone else. And the Bills, year after year after year, they're right there. I said last week they were winking at it, and they don't execute as well as the Chiefs, and that's their nemesis. Like, it's been the Chiefs
Yeah.
3 or 4 years out of the last 5 or 6, and that's the story of the game for me.
Well, and I know, I mean, a lot of people really were complaining about the calls. And
Yep.
I mean, I saw it too. There was really only one that I felt was kind of egregious, and that was when they called that catch for Xavier
Mm-hmm.
Worthy. I didn't think that was a catch. But honestly, I thought that the Buffalo play calling, particularly in the fourth quarter, particularly at the end of the fourth quarter, wasn't very good. So
Right.
predictable.
Right.
Every fourth down to give it to Josh Allen, like when they have that strong, was it, what's his name, Cook, the running back? I mean, it made no sense to me. And I mean, clearly Kansas City knew.
Well,
They know.
look, I get it. Allen's a great player, but it feels like they bought into that Superman hype just a little bit too much. And
Yes.
and it's okay. I get it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. It's in my frustrations and flops, so I'll get
Okay.
into it a little bit more later.
Okay. All right. Well, so then fundamentally,
Yes,
fundamentally food.
right. So I
What?
just thought there's not a lot going football wise, so this is an off week, but people are going to get excited, start prepping, putting the list together for their Super Bowl parties, and
Yeah.
the number one food, the all-time champion, the goat of Super Bowl food is chicken wings, and that is near and dear to my heart. Everyone knows I'm from Buffalo, New York. I grew up a chicken wing fiend. Is still to this day my favorite food. Now there are
Is
many
it? Oh my gosh.
many things I love about living in San Diego. However, that San Diego's wing game is trash. It just is. There are places I go that when I get the urge that I got to have some wings, there are places I can go where I was like, okay, this was a satisfactory experience. However, there's very few places I can go out here where it's like, man, those were some incredible wings. And so I just wanted to give some quick tips on people what they should do. And so the classic buffalo. Now I by look, Darwin said the strongest shall survive. Well, that's not really what it is. It's the most adaptable will survive. So I've adapted
That's
to
true.
other flavors besides buffalo and barbecue, which are the two main flavors back at home. Like I've gotten into some of the other wing flavors just because it's like, well, they're not great anyway. I'll try some other flavors, but regardless of whether you want to bake, fry, or cook, one of the keys is obviously you've got to blot the chicken so that you get a nice dry layer before you do anything, right? Because you want that.
So, you know what's interesting about
What's
that?
that?
Because my little favorite dish is my cheesy hot artichoke dip.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to that is you must blot the artichokes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Blotting is
artichokes cut
key.
like that.
I just thought that was interesting. Blotting.
Yes,
Good.
absolutely. You blot them.
Continue. Please continue.
And then this isn't so much for frying in my experience. This is because here's the other thing too. I grew up making my own wings, right? I didn't have, mom wasn't giving me money every weekend to go buy however many wings I needed to satisfy my needs, right? So sometimes I just made them at home. And so one of the things you can also do to help the crispiness, but this is I found more so if you're going to bake your wings, perhaps grill. I'm not sure. I haven't tried that. a light, very, very light coating of baking powder because it can affect the flavor if you're going to eat the wings without sauce. If you're going to sauce the wings, don't worry about it. Just baking powder away, light coat before you cook them, however you're going to cook them, and then once you sauce them, you won't have any adverse flavor taste.
Interesting.
One more thing I want to, and this is more of a rant, real quick, because sometimes I order wings so infrequently out here. Sometimes I'll forget and I'll order. In California, unfortunately, the de facto sauce they send you home with is ranch, and I'll get home like, and it's like, what are you doing? I'm a wing snob, and so it's blue cheese, people. I don't know where this ranch thing came from. It's blue cheese, and it's not any old blue cheese. It's like all the places you can just stumble into a place in Buffalo, and you'll get this nice, not too chunky, not too loose, right in the middle. Like it's got some heft to it when it can hang on the wing by itself, right? Like that's the consistency you need. It's a little thick, maybe like a Ken's. Like if you go to the grocery store, like a Ken's blue cheese dressing, right? So I just
So
wanted to.
Juan, maybe you should open a wing place.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, San Diego needs you, buddy.
Well, that's the type of thing. It's like in the drug dealers say don't get high off your own supply. Well, it'd be a similar issue with the wings for me. I'm not making much money if I'm eating all the inventory, right? So, one of the other tips is a lot of places out here that I found are places you go will over sauce the wings, and you don't want to over sauce the wings. So you cook your wings, you sauce your wings, and perhaps sometimes people will be done at that point. But you don't want too much. You want to coat the wings. You don't want them resting in a bowl of sauce, which, of course, takes away from all that work you went into trying to make them crispy. Again, whether you grill, fry, or bake. But the other thing is, so there's a very popular restaurant called Lenova's at home, and I'm telling you, they sell a ton of wings. And they're more well known for their barbecue wings, but what they do is after they sauce their wings, they grill them for an amount of time. And it just comes out charred and it's awesome. So what I would recommend for some people is that after you cook your wings, you sauce your wings, especially if you bake, set them under the broiler for 5 minutes and let them and they'll still remain juicy, but it'll lock in that sauce and kind of put that little bit of a char on the wings, and it's just excellent.
So I know you have your annual Super Bowl bash with all your buddies.
Yes.
Now, are you in charge always of the wings?
No, I don't. There's so many guys who cook that come down because literally, I think there's only about 15 guys coming down this year. But amongst that group, there's always someone ready to get on the grill, and you just take too much crap if you screw anything up. Not that I would, but I don't even need to, right? So actually, I'm in charge of grabbing the meats this year. I don't know if do you remember Bocce's from when you were out here, the Italian restaurant?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so my buddy puts in an order there, gets all the meat, all the wine, and so I'm just picking up this year. So
You're the driver.
yes, I'm escorting the goods.
So I'll give you. So I mentioned the artichoke dip. So that would be my number one thing for Super Bowl.
Yep.
So so you get 2 cans of quartered artichoke hearts. And then, like I said, my mistakes in the past have been not blotting.
Yes.
So you drain them, but then you really have to blot them with paper towels and like make sure they're super, super dry as you can possibly get them. And then you mix them with some mayo, about a cup or so of mayo, and about a cup or so of Parmesan. And then I usually splash a little white wine in there or sherry or, something like that. And then I'm a spicy food person, so I tend to be a little heavy-handed with the cayenne pepper, but that's how I like it. So a lot of cayenne pepper and some paprika, and then you bake it until it's like really bubbly and brown. Oh, it's so good. So you can eat it. I like to eat it on little crostini. I make little toasted breads and rub them with garlic and then load that on there. Oh, delish. So blot your wings, blot your artichokes, and there you go.
Right. It makes a difference. There's nothing like biting into a soggy, oversauced wing that just is limp, and it's just awful.
And there's nothing like watery baked artichoke dip. It's not good. I've done it. I've messed it up.
Now I haven't
I don't know. I don't know what else to make.
over the years. I haven't been a huge fan of artichoke dip, but I do love spinach dip. Right where it's and
Mm.
so if I remember,
Yep.
Houston's I think used to make a great spinach and well, that's cream spinach, not spinach dip per se with the cheese. And okay, yeah, a little bit
It's
different.
almost the same.
Yep. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Spinach dip has sour cream and water chestnuts. Um, what else? Yeah, spinach dip is good. I never make it.
Okay.
The other thing I like is, I mean, I like a good mac and cheese.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, lots of times for Super Bowl, I'll make a nice mac and
Well,
cheese.
as you can guess, we're really protein heavy at my event,
Yeah.
but we do have two types of salads. Usually, like either a kale or dandelion salad, and then always a radicchio
Ooh,
salad.
that's very
Yeah,
sophisticated
yeah, yeah.
for Super Bowl.
Um, and but trust me, we'll have several different types of protein.
You know what? Maybe I'll make a kale Caesar salad. I love kale Caesar salad, but the key to kale Caesar salad is you have to massage the kale.
Oh, is that right?
You massage the kale with lemon juice and sea salt.
I got to tell
Otherwise,
you,
it's a little too
just
too chewy.
just real quick, there was once where I had the girls when they were smaller, and I was always good at making proteins. My side dish game was not crazy. So I would just buy the frozen stuff and just, fix it up in the microwave. So I was like, they're going to eat kale, yada, yada, yada. So I get the kale, put it in the microwave. And I knew better when it came out. But if you could have seen this clumpy, and I'm looking at them and they're looking at me and they just refuse. They're like, Dad, we are not eating that. And to this day, as recently as a couple months ago, hey, Dad, you remember when you tried to make us eat that kale? So I'm assuming you're using nice,
Well,
fresh kale.
yes, nice fresh kale and massage it.
Yes.
So we still have another week. So next week we can probably finalize our menus and we
Yes.
can further discuss.
Well, and I'm
So
picking up the day will be taped, so I'll have the list
okay,
of what
maybe
we're.
some photos.
Yeah, sure,
Maybe some
absolutely,
photos.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. So we'll move now.